Hello and welcome to tutorial 103 in this series of tutorials and programs that focus on TradeStation. And in this tutorial we're going to be looking at creating an XML file. We're going to be storing some data in the XML file, and we're going to be then updating that information. And just by way of a simple example is I've created a program which, when applied to a chart, will initially set up an XML document, but then when the program is uninitialized, the program will, if there is not information for a specific symbol, it will add that information. As you can see here, I've got the example XML file opened in Dreamweaver. So if there were no information there for EUR/USD, it would add it. If there was information there, then it would update it with the latest information. So this is a trivial example, but I think it's useful to be able to use XML, storing data in XML, because it is a way that you could, for example, do a lot of processing, store information into an XML file, and then get that information back into the same or into a different program. So firstly, what is XML? And I've explained this a little bit on the tutorial page, but essentially we've just got a structured way of storing data which is made up of nodes. And you can see here we've got a node which is pivots, it's everything, and within that node we've got three nodes, symbol nodes, and then within the symbol nodes we've got some further nodes, for example, date time, pivot 1, pivot 2, and pivot 3. And then, just to make it a little bit more complicated, we've actually got an attribute for the symbol, and in each case the attribute is the name of the symbol. Anyway, what I'm going to do in this tutorial is actually do 3 videos. The first one will just basically set up the program and set up the initialized event and create the XML file. I'll then do a second video which will show what happens when there is no node for a current symbol. And then finally, the third video will look at when there is a node for that particular symbol, how to then update the data. Okay, so let's just have a look at the program as is, which is already created, and then what I'm going to do is just go through and recreate it. So essentially we've got the initialized event and the uninitialized event. In the initialized event, we're going to create the XML file if it doesn't exist, and we're going to set the root as set the root node for that file, or get the root node for that file. In the uninitialized event, what we're going to do is, if the file currently, or rather if there is a node for a specific symbol, we're going to update the data in for that symbol. If there is not, we're going to create a node for that symbol. And then finally, because we're storing information about pivots, we need to calculate the pivot information, and we're doing that just using standard the standard pivot function. So what I'm going to do is copy the existing program and then strip out some of the functionality, and then we can go back and recreate the program. Okay, so welcome back, and what I've done is created a new show me study called _tutorial 103C, and I've left some of the information here. We're using the ELS system .xml namespace, from which the classes that are required for XML are stored. We've got an input, which is the name of the XML file. Make sure that's a place on your computer where you know it is, and make sure that you can write to that place. I'll just put it to the root C directory. We've then got some variables to store the pivot levels. We've got some XML object variables, and more about those in a moment as we use them, and then a few other things that we need just to make this thing work. So first of all, let's just create the initialize and uninitialize events, and the way we're going to do that is we're just going to click on properties. We're going to click on this little events gizmo here, and we're going to double click on initialized and double click on uninitialized. And what that has now done is created a little bit of code in our program. So what I'm going to do is just copy and paste that to where it was previously. So the initialized event is going to go here, and the uninitialized event is going to go here, like so. Now, one of the things that the program has done automatically is created some designer generated code, and what I want to do is just copy that into my main program. So I'm just going to copy, going to go back to the program, and I'm just going to put this above here, and we can probably get rid of some of the comments here. Okay, so that is there. Now, having done that, we need to go back to properties, and we need to just get rid of these, otherwise we're going to get an error. So let's do that, and then we're just going to verify the program, make sure that everything is okay so far. Great. Okay, so we're now going to do some work on the initialized event, and what we're going to do is create an XML document if there is not one there already. So we're going to do that by saying doc equals new, and then XML document. Like so. And then we're going to try, use a try catch finally statement to try and load the file, try and load the XML file. Now bear in mind that the file may not exist, and that's going to throw an exception. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and load the document. So the syntax for that is doc.load, and then the name of the document, and that is XML file name, which is an input, if you recall from the top of the program. And if we try and load that and it doesn't exist, we're going to get an exception. So we're going to use catch to try and find what that exception is, and the exception would be file not found. So the syntax is el system dot io dot file not found exception. So this syntax you would be able to just reuse as it is in your own program. And then having done that, we're going to put in a print statement. So if the file is not found, we're going to say this file name not found. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create a root node. We're going to append that to a file, and we're going to save the file. So by doing that, we will actually create the file. So it's doc.create element, and the element name is going to be pivots. And having done that, we need to append that to the document. So we're going to say doc.append child. I'm going to put in the name root, like so, and then we're going to save the document. So we're going to say doc.save. And again, we're going to save that into the file name that we set as a user input at the top. So that's the catch. I'm just going to indent those a little bit, and then we're just going to have a finally. So this will run whatever happened in the try. So we're just going to store get the root element for the current document. So I'm going to say doc.get document element. Okay, and then we need a end for the try catch finally statement, like so. So, as I say, you'll be able to reuse this type of syntax in your own programs, so you won't need to totally remember how to do this. But let's just verify this, and bear in mind this happens when the program is applied to a chart. So I've already got this applied to a chart, but I've turned the status to off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to the euro dollar chart, and I'm going to go Format, Analysis Techniques, and what I'm going to do is turn this tutorial on. And what I'm now going to do in Dreamweaver is I'm going to try and open the tutorial 103 C XML file. So there we go. Now you'll notice that we have got a new document and we've created a node, pivots, but you'll notice it's a self-closed node. You see we've got this little final slash here. So everything so far so good. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to do video 2, and in video 2 we're going to look at the situation like we have now where there aren't any nodes stored for a particular symbol.